going down, sourdough squad. We made it to Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if we can make it to Sunday, because as a great Kyle Shanahan would say, you never know who's going to make it to Sunday, but we've made it to Friday, and it's been a fun week of content. Again, if you missed it, we had Mike McGlinchey on earlier this week. We had Daniel Brunskill yesterday, so that was a lot of fun. We were going to have Samson Ebukam today on this channel, but he had something pop up. That's okay. But to make it up for you guys, should be having another player on Monday. So we're going to wait to announce that, make sure everything's all locked in, ready to go. But we should have another player coming on to the channel on Monday. So looking forward to that. Really excited about the player too. It's going to be a good conversation. I think it's a guy too who could be primed for a little bit of a breakout here with the 49ers this year. So really looking forward to that. But again, shout out to everyone who's been rocking with us this week. It's been a jam-packed week of content. We're getting ready. You know what that means. Someone said clues. Gav said, give us a clue of whose it's going to be on Monday. So again, I've had two offensive players. I really want to get defense. So it's going to be a defensive player. So that's who we're going to be talking about. It's going to have a defensive player on with us next week. Really looking forward to it. And we'll announce that on Monday, right before we get on. So keep an eye out for that. We'll be getting on at 1:30 on Monday. So looking forward to it. But before we get into all that, how's my sourdough squad doing today? If you guys are vibing with your boy, you know what to do. Drop an SDS in the chat. I want to see the bread gang. I want to see how everyone's feeling. Let me know how you guys are going today. Make sure you do what it do. Smash that like button, all that good stuff. But we're getting to that point. We are getting to that point in the year where these questions that we have been going back and forth on, whether it's Deebo Samuel situation, the Jimmy Garoppolo. Ooh, I like this one. The gluten gang. I like that one. That's a good one. The gluten gang. You'll love to see it. So we will be talking about it one more time just to see, because again, we're right around the corner from training camp. You're starting to see the players trickle in. You're starting to see them slowly trickle into Santa Clara. And you know what that means? That means training camp is right around the corner. So hopefully get to see some of you guys. Hawk Hater says, can't wait to be at camp a week from tomorrow. It is right around the corner. Very excited. We got Sal checking in from Miami. Let's go. We got Smitty in the chat checking in from Hawaii. Shout out my island boy. But we got Deebo, my guy, my gal, my sourdough sister says, where's Deebo? Well, Deebo is in the Bay. Deebo's working out. Deebo is grinding right now. He's been posting a lot. He brought out his trainer to the Bay. I know they have a camp coming up. I believe they have a camp today. So Deebo Samuel will be having a camp today for the kids. I believe it's actually at DVC, an alma mater, I guess you could say, of mine. I played football at DVC, so I believe he'll be over there at DVC today, running another one of his camps ahead of training camp. So it's going to be very interesting to see if anything comes from that. Hopefully no more, hopefully we don't get any videos of someone trying to get an autograph and then having to go viral. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Oh, we got Maryland checking in. Oh, we got Louisiana checking in. Woo! We got SDS all over the nation. You love to see it. But again, Deebo Samuel's in the Bay. He's in the Bay. He's here. So, will he be at training camp? So, we've been polling you guys, the fan base, for whole off season, and it's been a moving target. It's been a moving target. It changes, it fluctuates. One week we feel really good about the potential of Debo returning, and the next week we don't. Earlier this week, we had Tom Pelissero of the NFL Network reporting that Deebo Samuel will eventually get paid, which again, you would assume he would get paid. It's a very blanketed term that isn't defining anything. But what he did say that was more defining was the fact that no deal is imminent. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you believe that particular report? Do you think that a deal with Deebo Samuel will get done, or do you think this is going to kind of drag out through training camp? Do you think Deebo Samuel shows up? Does he hold it out? What do you guys think? I want to see. Drop it in the chat. Let me know what you think is going to happen with Deebo Samuel. Um, I don't know. The report definitely wasn't optimistic. Definitely was an optimistic report. Obviously, we understand starting at the beginning of the offseason, it's been a tumultuous situation to due to the public type of situation that went down. I think the 49ers understand. If I had to put my, you know, front office hat on, if you will, to kind of put myself in those particular situations, I think I think players ask for trades. I think players share that they're unhappy all the time with the organization. But typically, we don't hear about it. And I think this year kind of showed why we don't hear about it. Because if that does get out, it just becomes rampant speculation. And we know the 49er fans are feisty. 49er fans are feisty, and a lot of fans bleed red and gold before they support a player over the logo. So I think that was part of this kind of dynamic of the offseason was you had a player kind of openly request a trade, kind of trolled a little bit, liking images of him in Cowboys jerseys. That rubs fans the wrong way. So I think it's kind of split. I don't know if it's kind of moved back to being like, all right, we're ready to get over it. And, we're just ready to play football and want to get the guy out there because we know he's going to contribute to wins for the San Francisco 49ers. So it's been kind of an up and down situation, at least from a fan base perspective. But again, putting the front office hat on, I don't know if they like that a whole lot. like I've said, like there's definitely things that have gone on behind the scenes with some of our favorite players that we'll never hear about, and for good reason. But they keep those things kind of behind closed doors because it's part of the business side of football. But when those things get outside, and then you see the narratives just spin. I mean, we talked about Deebo Samuel for felt like 2 months straight. Uh, what's Deebo doing? What's Deebo liking? Where's Deebo? Like it took on a life of its own. So from a front office perspective, that creates a lot of headaches for them. I would assume. I don't know if that has any translation into him getting a deal done ultimately, or them just being like, well, we're gonna wait. Um, we want to see you come into training camp. We want to see the energy. We want to see that you're locked in, ready to go, and get this over with. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm hopeful that Deebo Samuel gets paid. When I look at the entire situation and kind of the evolution of it, the hope is that Deebo gets paid. I don't think any 49er fan who is interested in competing for playoff spot, you know, best case scenario, a chance at another Super Bowl, if the 49ers are going to need. The 49ers are going to need to have Deebo Samuel. So, but you want Deebo Samuel to be in it with everyone else. Not kind of disgruntled, even though it feels like he's a little bit disgruntled, but we want the focus to be back on football, right? Because I think we all ultimately want Deebo Samuel to win games. That's what 49er fans want. Fantasy stats are cool. Watching your favorite player ball out's cool, but I think we all understand what's coolest is when your team's going on a run, collecting W's and pushing for a playoff spot. That's the coolest. You guys remember last year? I was talking about it with Daniel Brunskill yesterday, just talking about the run that the 49ers went on last season and just how quickly things can change. So just like with last year, right? Really rocky to start. First half of the season was, for lack of a better word, is a little gross. But like Brunskill was talking about, the 49ers have phenomenal leadership. They've got guys in there that are a one game at a time mentality, and they were able to pull themselves out, get into the playoffs, and they were that close, right? They were that close to getting back to the Super Bowl. And I know you guys saw those Super Bowl rings last night. I know you guys saw them. I know you saw those Rams Super Bowl rings. They like take the top off and there's Levi South under it. I know you saw those rings. I saw those rings. It made me sick. Sick. Like, just a reminder of like what this season is, in the sense of I want to win. From my perspective, I'm not a player. I'm not within that organization. I enjoy this team. I enjoy watching them play. I want to see them win. I want to see them collect the ring. I want to see guys like Trent Williams, George Kittle, Kyle Juszczyk, Fred Warner, Jimmy Ward, Emmanuel Mosley. I want to see guys like that get rings. Nick Bosa. I want to see guys like that get rings. Really, really do. So if the 49ers want to compete for rings, they're going to need Deebo Samuel, especially with Trey Lance. By all accounts, Trey Lance is going to be taking over. So the 49ers are going to need as much help as they can get. Dante Johnson absolutely deserves a ring. Absolutely. Absolutely. Everyone deserves a ring. Dare I say Jed York deserves a ring? I don't know. People might not like that one. But the whole organization deserves a ring at this point. Just trying to get over that hump, right? And to get over that hump, the 49ers need Deebo Samuel. They need Deebo Samuel with a young signal caller getting his first real starting time. All the pressure of the world on his shoulders. Again, talk to both Mike McGlinchey and Daniel Brunskill this week, and both of them talked about Trey glowingly in the sense of he's he's mentally built the right way. That's half the battle. When we talk about Sam Darnold's issue isn't with talent. Sam Darnold's issue isn't with the way he throws the football. He's a really good thrower. He has a really good arm. He can spin it beautifully. Sam Darnold is not a good quarterback because he doesn't have this part. He's not a good processor. You talk to whether it's Steve Young, whether it's McGlinchey, run skill. When they're talking about Trey, they talk about the mental intangibles and how like advanced he is for a 22-year-old. They talk about his processing. They talk about all those types of things. So he has an opportunity to be really successful this year, but you need help. You need your guys. You need your weapons. You need Kittle. You need Deebo. You need Ayuk. You need Jawan Jennings. You need Kyle Juszczyk. You need Elijah Mitchell. You need Jeff Wilson. You need TDP. You need all of them. This is all hands on deck approach. So it would benefit the team to clearly have Deebo Samuel play, but not only play, but I would imagine get paid in the sense of no one's asking questions anymore. No one's, when Deebo steps to the podium in training camp, it's so how do you, how are you managing practicing every day without a deal, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? And or if it comes out like deals, the contract talks have broken off, and they're like, Deebo Samuel's going to play the majority this season on his rookie deal. That, I wouldn't want that. As much as much quote unquote drama created this year from that whole situation, I wouldn't want that. I wouldn't want Deebo Samuel to be playing on his rookie deal with with a division on the line. Seattle feels like they're going to be down. Arizona just spent hell of money on Kyler Murray. Kyler got paid. I'm sure you guys saw that. Kyler Murray's going to be running around, ducking under everyone, throwing his little whoop. 49ers have a defense that can suffocate quarterbacks like Kyler Murray. The 49ers have a defense that can suffocate quarterbacks like Matt Stafford. So the defense is going to be there to do its part. Offense we need all hands on deck. And getting Deebo paid, I think, would benefit the whole team, just in the sense of just putting those questions to bed. You know what I mean? It could be a distraction. It could not. We'll see. I would perceive it to be somewhat of a distraction. Again, it's not also too just paying Deebo. It's like, well, look at the guys down the line. Look at maybe Brandon Ayuk. How's Brandon Ayuk kind of thinking about this? Like, oh, I'm going to be up for a deal here in a couple years. Maybe am I going to get the same treatment? That kind of stuff. So we'll see. That's more probably an over thought process at this point. But I want to get Deebo paid. Would love to get it done, of course, before camp. Not necessarily has to happen that way, but would love to get him paid before game 1. That would be ideal, in my opinion. So would love to get Deebo paid. So let me know in the chat. I want to see from you. I want to see from you guys. Is Deebo going to get paid? Is he ultimately going to get paid? Do you want him to get paid? Or maybe you're on the other side of that. Maybe you want him to play this year on his rookie deal. Maybe you want him to prove it a couple more times. I want to see what you have to say. Drop your opinions in the chat. What do we got here? Deebo doesn't want to run the ball, but if you really look at Deebo, he's not a great route runner. Maybe fast, but has a hard time separating, and Kyle sees that. So why he uses Deebo the way he does. Let him go. His attitude is not for the team. Um, I'm not sure I agree at all with the notion that Deebo's not a great route runner. Um, I I am on record being Deebo was a draft crush of mine coming out of South Carolina. Um, it was him. He was above AJ Brown for me. He was above DK Metcalf for me in my wide receiver rankings. Um, I love Terry McLaurin. I had Deebo Samuel ahead of Terry McLaurin. Um, and one of the things that I've talked about with Deebo Samuel during the pre-draft process, before he was even a 49er, was this dude can whoop you in a phone booth. And when I say phone booth, that means off the line of scrimmage. His release package, what he can do with his feet, the way he can head fake you and get you out of position, get your hips to bite. Uh, you know what I mean? So that's part of route running. The release package is a part of route running. Uh, I said before he was drafted that this guy's going to go to the Pro Bowl off the slant route alone. Why is that? Why did I say that Deebo Samuel is going to go to the Pro Bowl off the slant route alone? Because he knows how to get open and create spacing and leverage, which is a part of route running. So I don't agree with that. Just because and again, I had Daniel Brunskill on last night. Um, we talked about how the 49ers had to go from their outside zone scheme and change to more gap scheme, predominantly gap scheme, because they had rookie running backs. And having a zone, you have to running zone for a running back, you have to have the feel. It's a feel. And the rookies, whether it was even though Elijah Mitchell had a really good year, Trey Sermon showed some promise, they still had a hard time running zone. So they had to switch to gap scheme, which is more leverage based blocking and more specific run lanes where you're kind of aiming for a spot, where zone you just go where you go. Um, and that's why they had to move Deebo into the running back room, because they didn't have anyone else. They were not only hurt, but Mostert wasn't walking through that door anymore, and their bread and butter is outside zone, and they couldn't run that. So I would be cautious in saying that Deebo is not a great route runner and that they used him that way last year as a result of that, because I don't believe that to be true. Again, don't take my word for it. Go watch the Brunskill interview. That was coming from one of his teammates. So go feel free to again. I don't think, I don't necessarily agree with that, but I understand where you're coming from. Gammon says, Brad, your internet is on a win streak. Shout out my internet. Any of you guys from the McDonald's Wi-Fi days would totally understand how fantastic this is. Louis wants to pay Deebo. Pat Key says, I'm all about a player getting his money. 100%. So let's see. Jesse said, oh, read my comment. Was it this comment? He said, Deebo is a solid route runner. We haven't had a quarterback that throws to all routes. He essentially has been asked to run less routes. Deebo's a monster coming off the line. 100%. The 49ers offense was, predominantly based on short to intermediate routes. So that's what Deebo did. Doesn't mean he can't do anything else. He's not asked to do anything else. And if he was, the ball doesn't really go to him all that often. Oh, that's cool. King says, gonna see Deebo later today at his youth camp. What should I ask him? Ooh, I don't know. What should you ask Deebo? Don't ask him about his contract. Don't do that. Don't ask him about his contract. Um, what would be a question you could ask Deebo where it actually kind of open up on? That would be a good one. I might have to think about that a little bit. Aloha. Smitty says, "Pay the man." I get it. I'm all for players getting their money. Pay the man. His energy is contagious in that locker room. He got that dog in him 100%. And I think that payment would would go a long way. Show me the money 100%. Wayne says better pay him now because if he does it again, the price tag just goes up. That's another good point. You wait another year and he has another phenomenal year and you want to pay him again, you're probably paying more. We'll see. Sentinel has a little bit different take. He says, let Deebo finish his rookie deal so long as Deebo can stay healthy through the season and even the postseason, then pay him at the end of the season. But to the previous commenter's point, you're paying him probably more at that rate because if he doubles up, if he doubles up and has another good year, you're paying him as like the number one wide receiver in the entire market. And that's a lot of money. So it's a bit of an economics situation. So we'll see. We'll see. Coach is in the chat. Uh, coach Coach says, I agree 100%. Pressing the line of scrimmage and being disciplined enough to stick your foot in the ground at breakneck speed without flinching is a rare ability for a rookie. Gap scheme is harder for an O line, 100%. Um, and so that's what we were talking about yesterday. Like we were talking about how they had to get away, from what they wanted to do because they just didn't have the backs. They were just uh they're too new. They were too new. I talked about it all last year. Um we did our film breakdowns. We talked glowingly about both the rookie running backs, but we would go back and be like, look, this is where you cut it back, or this is where you set up to the outside and then cut back, or this is where you push it wide. There's a big difference in having a real feel. Oh, I forgot. I never even got to talk about this. I think I talked to Mike McGlinchey that day that I broke the Robert Condici news. Robert Robert is the one who confirmed to me. So, uh, Robert, according to, to the player, he has signed with the San Francisco 49ers. It's not been refuted. So it seems pretty confirmed to me. We'll see until it's officially reported, whether from the team or from a team reporter. But by all accounts, Robert Condici is going to be a San Francisco 49ers. He's a former first round pick. It's pretty cool seeing everyone get hyped about it. All the conversation that was generated from that was pretty dope. What's good, James? Oh, James! Shout out James! Happy Friday to the homie. He says, "What's up, SDS faithful?" Brad, Kinlaw, McGlinchey, and now Brunskill, which I still need to watch, have been a joy to watch. I'm looking forward to the next player that you interview. Shout out, James. Appreciate you. SDS member. Really do appreciate dropping the 60 on your boy. What a legend. What a legend. James, we might need you to drop 60 on Deebo. We might need to start a GoFundMe at this point to get Deebo his contract because I don't know if it's coming. I don't know if it is. We'll find out. I don't think we're out the weeds yet. So we'll see. We'll see what goes on with Deebo Samuel. But I am also curious. I'm also curious. Oh, actually, Smitty's dropping some numbers in here. And again, shout out James Vega. Shout out Coach. Appreciate the boys. Appreciate the boys for the super chat. Sergeant Bubbly saying, what time is the next interview? Samson had something pop up, so I'm actually going to be getting another player on Monday. So keep an eye out for that. Hopefully, barring any scheduling issues. So be ready for that. Loha Smitty says the numbers do not lie. Deebo Samuel, wide receiver, receptions, 77 targets, 1,400 receiving yards, 18.2 a clip versus Tyreek Hill. I see what it is. 77 targets. 77 receptions, 121 targets. Tyreek Hill has 111 receptions, 100 on 159 targets, 1,239 yards, 11.2 per clip. Numbers are hard for me, but I appreciate the information. I like this question. Only question for Deebo at his youth camp is in and out or Five Guys. He feels like he might be a Five Guys type guy. He feels like he could be a Five Guys type guy. Or maybe neither. I don't know. But that wouldn't be a bad question. That wouldn't be a bad question. This is a good question. Any Niners going to start the season on PUP? I mean, there's been a lot of talk all year since Kalai Davis was drafted that he could potentially start out on PUP, but nothing has been confirmed yet. So we'll see. We'll see. But I mean, again, we were talking to McGlinchey. He says maybe McGlinchey too. McGlinchey said he's ready to go. So that was one of the cool things that came out one of the interviews this week, is we got kind of clarification on McGlinchey's injury, and by all accounts, he sounds very confident about his return. Sounds like he'll. I don't. You never know what the snap counts look like. When guys are coming back from injuries, it varies per player. Again, I always come back to Nick Bosa didn't take any team reps last year. So you never know. You never know how the reps translate, but from what Mike's saying, he's ready to go. He's ready to go. Oh, shout out. We got Japan checking in. I don't know if you guys know this. I'm Japanese. Fun fact of the day. I don't know if you guys know that. I know you see a lot of the Scotsman in me. See lots of the Scottish, but I got a good portion of Japanese in me. Hi, dozo. So shout out the homies out there in Japan. You're allowed to see it. Coach says picking up D lineman as a Niners fan is like watching Chris Kosarek at the Antique Roadshow with an antique lineman that nobody wants. Sir, this old former first round pick is worth 8 sacks. That's hilarious. That Sir, this is a very nice collectible that you've brought in today. Judging by the wear and tear around the edges, how much tread's left on these tires? Ding, ding, ding. Like, oh, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna say, we can see 8 sacks from this good old antique. But you get them at a price of $3. So that's funny. Shout out, Coach. Ooh, favorite Japanese dish. I love dragon rolls. I don't know if you know. I don't know if you know about the dragon rolls. I don't know if you've ever had a 49er roll. Coincidentally enough, there's a spot in Pleasanton called Senro Sushi. So good, and they have this 49er roll. Woo! I mean, hilariously enough, it's called the 49er roll, but it's bomb. What is a dragon roll? Dragon roll is shrimp tempura on the inside, I think there's like a little avocado, little cucumber, like stuff like that. And then they have unagi on the top, which is eel. So good. So you guys are getting me hungry, bro. You're getting me hungry now. Oh, don't get me talking about sushi. Tempura squad, let's go. I love I love tempura, any kind of tempura. Uh, Gyoza, fire. You give me a bento box, a little chicken teriyaki. We winning. We winning. Get me a little bento. Give me a little dragon roll. I'm happy. I'm a happy man. Quickly turning into an episode of the SF Diners, and I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. Uh, you guys are funny. You guys are funny. Uh, but big time squirrel. Big time squirrel. Coach says pho and pork belly on Gooch. Oh, the sushi depth chart. I'm a I'm a big roll guy. You know, I don't. I'll 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 have some of like the straight like raw fish sushi, but I like the rolls. That's how I roll. But I don't know if we have enough time for sushi depth chart. Dragon Roll's number one. This is my starter. He's my quarterback. Dragon Roll's my quarterback for sure. Can't go wrong with that. Speaking of quarterback, though, Jimmy Garoppolo's still on the roster. Speaking of quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo's still on the roster. Does anyone still believe that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be on the roster in the sense of actually competing for snaps, being a part of camp, any of that? I don't believe that's the case. Obviously we heard that he's cleared according to Schefter. He's cleared to start to practice. But does that mean he will practice? Does that mean he gets excused from training camp? I would imagine he he won't, but I can't put it past the 49ers at this point. They've told us that they would keep Jimmy, and they've told us they would do a couple things. And hey, I've even been like, I don't believe it. I'm like, yeah, Mo, maybe I should have believed it. At this point, I think you can make the argument to me from a football standpoint why it makes sense to keep Jimmy, and I would understand it. Like, what happens if Trey gets injured? Having, I think you saw the quarterback Madden ratings. Jimmy was a 77. Uh, you had Trey Lance as a 72. They had Brock Purdy rated higher than Sudfeld. I think like I don't know if I've ever like really seen like a 55 Madden rating. Like the levels of disrespect from Madden to hit Nate Sudfeld with the 55, like, ooh, that was crazy. But we'll see. But again, to the kind of that point, I'm sure in Madden, if you're running a Madden franchise with the 49ers, you could keep you could keep Jimmy and Trey Lance and be fine. And be fine. But in real life, I don't know, might be a little bit different. Might be a little Andrew says, "I don't know, Brad. I'm buying tickets to the Purdy hype train." Hey, I told you guys. I think we talked about it. I was big into the Iowa State's tight end. He was someone that kind of popped out to me at the combine when I was there, and so I went and I did a little bit of tape work, and Brock Purdy stood out. I was like, hmm. It's like, I was like, he's slinging it. Now you see the bad plays, right? You see the bad plays, right? But Brock Purdy, like he gets the ball out. Looks like he has a good processor on him. He doesn't look terrible, but kind of Sudfeld catching strays, getting a 55 rating, and Purdy getting 59. I was like, ooh, boy. But I was someone who, when the 49ers signed Sudfeld, I was like, I like Sudfeld because he backed up Carson Wentz, and I have Carson Wentz in Dynasty. So I paid attention to the Eagles and Sudfeld. And I saw enough games of Sudfeld where I was like, he's capable. He might not be starting caliber, but he's capable. But I'm sure if there's ever an injury, and it does have to be Sudfeld. I know fans are getting a little bit of PTSD just thinking about CJ Beathard coming in, Nick Mullins coming in, and they played well in spots. You can say that. I think you can say CJ played well in spots. He didn't have a whole lot around him. I think Nick Mullins played well in spots, but when it came to the overall consistency of it all, not so much. So if there's ever a point in which the 49ers have to turn to Nate Sudfeld, I'm sure fans aren't going to be overly optimistic about their chances to be competitive, but you never know. You never know. There's a lot of talent on that offense. Maybe just him being able to make good reads, deliver the football could be enough. But we'll see. But ultimately, I don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo comes walking through those doors. I don't know if any they keep talking about teams are interested in him. But I don't know. I don't know if a team would trade for Jimmy at this point. I don't know if they would. I don't know if they would. Uh, and I'm someone who's been pretty adamant about the value of Jimmy as a starting caliber player, which is valuable in of itself. But there's no market right now. Feels like the market is just bone dry. It's like Jimmy Garoppolo is like the equivalent to Bitcoin right now. Just stonks aren't up, stonks are down. Um, he might be worth. He might actually, like, as a substantive piece, be worth more than his value might say, but the market is dictating it one way. So I don't know. I don't think Jimmy's going to be on the roster. I don't. I don't. I feel like we've heard enough from, again, talked to two players this week. Um, Definitely does feel like the pendulum is swinging towards Trey Lance. We've heard reports swinging towards Trey Lance. It's just, what are they going to do uh, with Jimmy at this point? Gav says, "What's the plan with Dee Ford this year?" Kyle said he expects Dee Ford to not be on the roster this year. So he said that pretty definitively, right? I know you guys remember that when Kyle came out and said he does not expect Dee Ford to be on the roster. However, Dee Ford's still on the roster. And I know a lot of people are over it, and I get it 100% why you're over it, and you just wanna rip the Band-Aid off, you just wanna move on. I've talked about it on this channel before. If you cut Dee Ford, you are not saving a like, considering I think it's over $8 million dead cap hit, so his cap figure remains no matter what. Like, it's 8 million plus against the cap. It's not going away by releasing him. Um, by releasing him, you're saving less than $1 million. Um, so if you're not getting any true financial relief and you're paying this guy the money anyways, I would personally, as a business decision, again, we're putting on the front office cap, the coaching cap. Um, if you're looking at the numbers and you can't shake out of any of the contract, you can't get any relief out of any of it. Um, and it is becomes and is it is what it is situation. I would be open to, again, checking on the rehab process. If the rehab process has gone well in the off season, if D Ford does look like he could compete and he's willing to compete, then and he's getting paid regardless, then I would be open to giving him a chance to prove he can earn a roster spot. Now, last year he made the team, he made the roster. He played couple like 5 weeks into the season, 7 weeks into the season. He came away with he played 6 games. I think he had 3 sacks. And he made some disruptive plays. I had to remind myself. I went back, was pulling highlights. It's like, oh, D Ford was making some plays. So there's a world though where they release him. There's a world that absolutely exists where D Ford is, you know, it's more of a administration thing at this point, and then they're just waiting for the opportunity um, to release him. Maybe he starts on PUP. I don't know, but all things considered, if he appears to be healthy, and we know what that means, you take that with a grain of salt, and he can compete in camp. I'd probably let him. I'd probably let him. I'd kick the tires just one more time. Just one more time. Oh, only 31 likes? Come on, guys. We can do better than that. It's Friday. It's Friday. Smash that like button if you haven't already, especially if you're on YouTube. You can do it. You can do it. So far, no announcements about the 49ers and PUP. Like I could imagine maybe a couple players starting on PUP. Maybe like a Jason Verrett, maybe again like a Kalia Davis, but I don't know. We haven't heard anything yet. We haven't heard anything yet. So we're in a wait and see period at this point. Um but hopefully this will be one of the last times we talk about Garoppolo, one of the last times we talk about Deebo Samuel. The only reason I can foresee myself talking about Jimmy Garoppolo or Deebo Samuel in much more in depth is if something occurs between now and the start of training camp. Obviously, if Deebo shows up, that will be a talking point. Obviously, if Jimmy showed up, that would be a talking point. If Deebo doesn't show up, that would be a talking point. But I think we've made it to that point in the offseason. We've made it to that point. We're about this close from not hopefully not having to address it too much more, right? And get back to football. So that's what I'm most excited about. I'm tired of speculating. I'm tired of throwing crap against the wall, seeing if it sticks. Tired of, this the consistent offseason narratives that we can't seemingly escape. So that's what I think, most excited about. And hopefully this will be the last time we really talk about it before training camp, because we're going to be talking about football. That's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be breaking down technique. We're going to be breaking down all the things football once training camp picks up. And I'm very excited about that, because you guys know that I love to watch football and I love to evaluate football. Shout out Brunskill. He's like, you know what you're looking at. I was like, oh, thank you, my guy. So I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to it. I think next week. Um, we're gonna have to do a way too early 53-man roster prediction. Way too early, because training camp will be a huge definitive factor. Oh, come on. You're just trolling at this point. How does Kittle look slow? How do you say still looks slow? My guy trolling at a high rate. So we're going to definitely get way more training camp in tuned next week. All the training camp primers, all of it. Watch lists. So we're going to be ready to go. And then we get football. I will be in Santa Clara next week. Can you believe it? I will be there. And it's going to be a blast. Really, really looking forward to it. If the O-line holds up, the sky's the limit. The O-line holds up. If the running backs hold up, the 49ers have an opportunity to go far. Still going to be a run-first team. Still going to rely heavily on moving the ball on the ground. That's what they do best. And so I'm looking forward to that. Vernon Davis walked so Kittle can run, or no? I think this was being debated a while back. I feel pretty strongly about this. I feel like George Kittle is the better tight end than Vernon Davis. I don't think Vernon really didn't. He produced, but he never produced at an elite clip. Like Vernon Davis throughout his entire career, he never broke 1,000 yards receiving. We know he wasn't an elite run blocker. I would say Delaney Walker was a better blocker than Vernon Davis was. So Vernon Davis is a great tight end for the 49ers. Athletic specimen, just a freak. Definitely more athletic than Kittle, but Kittle does way more, especially what Kittle's asked to do for this offense. And again, this isn't a function of Kittle. That's a function of the offense. If he's not getting thrown the football, if he's not getting schemed open, he can't do anything about that. But he does so many more things, in my opinion, than what VD did. And VD was great. And again, we're splitting hairs because both are great tight ends. Two, definitely 1 and 2 in the franchise's history, in my opinion. Um, but I definitely do think Kittle was better. Um, but you also know that I hold emphasis over blocking much more than a lot of people. So thoughts on Robert Nkemdiche? Seems like a late signing at a stacked position. Yeah, I mean, the 49ers have a ton of defense, right? There's a ton of defensive linemen. Um, but again, competition at those types of positions are good. It's, Dwight Clark, I feel like he was a receiver too. So he was kind of a hybrid tight end. He felt like he was like a receiver. I mean, he's classified by some as a receiver. Brent Jones, phenomenal. Uh, love Brent Jones. But I like this ranking. Uh, again, I don't know how to classify Dwight Clark. Is he a wide receiver? Is he a tight end? Is he both? I'm not sure. But Kittle's definitely held it down. But in regards to Robert Kondichi, he's a former first round draft pick. He was the number one overall high school prospect coming out uh, of high school. Went to Ole Miss. You know, did okay. I mean, he was a late first round draft pick. Uh, I think he did carry a lot of that number one overall prospect hype coming out of high school. Um, he hasn't really stuck. You know, he didn't stick with the Cardinals. Didn't really stick with Seattle. We'll see if he can make a roster spot. If he does, that would be great. If you can get Robert Kondichi with Chris Kosarek and Chris can do his thing, then I'm all for it. I'm all for it. So if but we understand there's a lot of depth. There's a lot of depth at that position. So for him to come in and be a guy that can make an impact, he's got to beat someone out. So and you're getting Javon Kinlaw back into the mix. The 49ers added guys like Hassan Ridgeway. Um, and there's so many there's so many defensive ends that can theoretically kick down and play defensive tackle. It's going to be interesting who's going to come out on top. I think when you look at the roster, there's a lot of DNs, not as much interior defensive tackles. Kimdichi definitely feels like an interior defensive tackle. He can be kicked out, but I keep him primarily over the guard if I can. And so when you look at the 49ers roster and who they have, it's Hassan Ridgeway, Javon Kinlaw, Maurice Hurst, Kevin Givens, Kalia Davis, maybe like we talked about. If Kalia Davis does start out on PUP, then that could maybe be an indication of why they made that move. Because if that were to occur, then you only have four interior defensive tackles. And that's classifying guys like Alex Barrett, uh, Kevin Akins, undrafted free agent from Fresno, and Eric Armstead as DNs, even though I think you can make the case that those guys can and are defensive tackles. Um, outside of that, feels like they're ultra heavy on edge. Plenty of edge players: Jordan Willis, Kamoko Toure, Charles Omenihu, Drake Jackson, Samson Ebukam, Kerry Hyder, Nick Bosa. Again, whatever you want to classify Eric Armstead as. Um, but they got a lot of edge. They got a lot of edge guys. So them adding interior defensive linemen to me isn't all that crazy. Isn't all that crazy at all. So, especially if they need it for camp or whatever. So, best case scenario, he improves. He would have to beat out someone like a Maurice Hurst potentially, who I like Maurice Hurst a lot. So I think that would be, kind of an uphill battle. But maybe Hassan Ridgeway. Again, Kevin Akins is a undrafted free agent, so he already has an uphill battle to make the squad. But if him and Chris Courseret can get together and Chris can pull that talent that got him to be, a former first round draft pick, then maybe he has a chance. Maybe he has a chance to make the roster. But we'll see. We'll see who ultimately is available for camp. Again, if there's a PUP edition, then again a signing like this makes sense. Uh, I'm hopeful to get reports soon about 49ers PUP. Just while we've been doing the live, uh, Ravens have announced a bunch of players on PUP. Packers just announced a bunch of players on PUP. So we'll see. And just for clarification, any player placed on the PUP list before training camp can come off the list at any time. There's no time limit on how long he must be on that list. So again, if we see any player show up on the PUP, they can come off at any time. It might be an opportunity to carry a couple more roster spots, maybe keep some guys fresh. We'll see. But again, if we do see a report that comes out where maybe some guys are on PUP, again, don't be alarmed, because again, it's just a list. I think it could allow them to kind of have a couple more roster spots available. Maybe could keep some guys fresh for the beginning of camp. But you still need practice team players and things like that. So yeah, maybe it happens. Maybe it happens. So we'll save this for next week when we do our way too early 53-man roster. Probably do that like on a Tuesday. Tuesday feels like a good day for that. Again, way too early 53-man roster next week, and we can debate about who we think is going to make it, who's not. See which guys surprise, which guys fall out of favor. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun, because we talked about it before. Just kind of primer it, right? Someone's going to get cut out of that O-line room that I don't know if we're expecting. Not, I have no idea who it's going to be, but someone's going to get cut, and who's that person? In the 49ers draft 4 offensive linemen in back-to-back years, and you only typically carry 8 offensive linemen, and 5 of them are starting. Someone's getting let go. I don't know who's going to be. And out of those 4, it's not including Colton McKivitz, who I think is going to have one of those spots. So, going to be very interesting. Going to be very interesting to see who doesn't make it on that O-line. Going to be very interesting to see who squeaks in that 6 wide receiver spot. Jordan Mason make the roster. Surprise addition. Maybe. Which D linemen make the cut? Which safeties make the cut? Big competition for that 4th safety spot. Right now, the probably nod goes to Tarvarius Moore, but Tarvarius Moore has got to keep the dogs off his back, because he's got some young bucks coming in that are hungry and ready to go. So we'll see, man. We will see. That's why the way too early 53-man roster prediction will be fun, because I think we're going to be surprised by maybe who I pick. but that's what makes it fun. Um, all that good stuff. So looking forward to that next week because camp is around the corner. We don't have to keep talking about it. It's here. We're gonna wake up next week. We're gonna do our lives. We're gonna get hyped up because football. Oh, it's back. It's back. It's gonna be here, and I'm so excited. Couldn't get here any soon enough. It's been a wild off season. Been a wild off season. So for multiple multiple reasons. Um, but we'll be able to start to focus on the football side of things a lot more. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Really excited about that. Um, if you guys want to, if you have any other questions, feel free to kind of pop them in here if you want. And if we don't get any, then I'll probably cut out. Uh, but if you do, how do we bring Lance on the show? Listen, I would love to have Trey Lance. I think anyone would. But let's let the man focus, you know? Like let's let him get some grounding first. Maybe we'll try next off season. We'll see. But the man is on a mission. Trey Lance has been grinding in silence for the most part. I don't know if you guys have noticed this. As someone who watched every single workout video that he posted during the pre-draft process starting in October of last season of 2020. Yeah. Yeah. I saw from October to May. He was posting nothing but workout videos. I saw every single one of them. This year, much different. We got the Ayuk, we got the Ayuk Trey Lance hype about a week ago. But other than that, we haven't seen a whole lot, and I think that's on purpose because obviously he's over critiqued at this point. Anything that he puts out, or he's throwing a wobbly ball. I want to talk about this really quick since we're on the topic of it. I want to talk about it. The wobbly thing, I cannot stand. Like, I literally cannot stand it. Like, anytime that you see a pass and there's some wobble and you see all the comments underneath, "Oh, look at the wobble, look at the I'm like, "Bro, are we for real? Are we for real?" And it could be even a good pass. Like, it could even be a good pass. It could be completed. It could be on target. It could be on time. If it has a little "Oh, look at the like, what are we doing? Really? Like, that's what you're evaluating? I'll just say this. I'll just say this, and we might all be, you know, at a certain point here or there, uh, victim of it. Like, we might point out a wobble here or there, but if that's how you're truly evaluating how someone's throw just based on what the the ball looks like, whoo, you would have missed on Peyton Manning. You would have been, oh my gosh. You could have said that about every one of Peyton Manning's throws. Everyone. Every one of them. Look at Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's going to walk into the Hall of Fame. He's going to walk into the Hall of Fame. I care about results. I care about results. Was it accurate? Was it on time? And was it caught? That's what I care about. Uh, oh, look at that. Cardinals are signing former 49ers legend Victor Bolden, wide receiver. I don't know if you guys remember him. He spent some time with the 49ers. He now joins Arizona. Arizona. So you got that going. Always somehow all ex 49er players somehow end up in division. But I guess we just signed one of their own. So yeah, Victor Bolden recently was of the USFL, but he came in, I think, to the league as an undrafted free agent with the 49ers. So Victor Bolden was originally a 49er. Yeah, I think they're saying he's a USFL MVP in the championship game or something like that. So he spent time with Buffalo. He spent like a year or two with Buffalo. He's bounced around the league quite a bit. We're starting to get some reports of players getting cut. I wonder if we're going to get anything from the 49ers at all. So we'll see. We'll see if we get anything from the Niners. But you guys have a great weekend. Like I said, we'll be back on Monday. Right now, planning to have a player on Monday, but again, we'll confirm that once we get a little bit closer because we know things pop up, things happen. So that's what is on the docket. So either way, going to be going live around 1:30 on Monday, and it's going to be fun because Monday means it's training camp season. It means training camp season is officially here, and we get to talk about football. So looking really forward to that. But in the meantime, you guys have a phenomenal weekend. It's going to be one of the last weekends without football, right? That's going to be crazy. Like whether it's preseason, whether it's training camp, whether it's whatever, from like from now, this is going to be like the last weekend that we go without football. And then after that, it's going to be training camp, it's going to be preseason, then it's going to be regular season, then it's going to be playoffs, and we're going to have football all the way up until the Super Bowl. So enjoy it, get all the things that you need to get done, taken care of, because pretty soon we're gonna have football back. We're gonna have football back, and it's gonna be phenomenal. Corey, thank you for the super chat. He says, Brad, what do you think the odds are Deebo has similar season to last year without injury? I don't think he'll be used in the same role. So I think he could be just as productive, but again, to what does that look like? Will Trey Lance distribute the ball more? Will they be able to be will they be able to run the ball more, which might limit the amount of receptions he gets? I think it would be I think it would make sense if like Debo regressed a little bit from a statistical category. I still think he'll have a huge impact, but he was force fed the ball last year. So if I had to kind of wrap my head around it, you look at the offense. I assume they're going to run the ball even more. Um, you have Trey Lance. He has the ability to run the ball himself as well. With Trey Lance, he's already shown in limited starts that he has a willingness to kind of spread the ball around. Um, so whereas it felt like Jimmy was really dedicated on getting Deebo the ball. And then when he had to move to running back, then it was like, all right, well, we got to get him to run. So I think he might take a step back statistically. However, I still think he'll have a big impact on the team, score touchdowns, make big time plays, do all that kind of stuff. When you look at the grand scheme of like the statistics of it all, he might be taking a step back just because, like I said, the reasons I mentioned, Trey's going to distribute. They're going to run the football a lot. I would imagine, is going to be used as a running back. Um, Juwan Jennings, I think, is going to take a step forward. George Kittle, I think, is going to have more opportunities. I think, of course, Brandon Ayuk is going to have more opportunities. So I think it might be a little bit more balanced uh, distribution, where last year it was like Deebo, get Deebo the ball. So we'll see. We'll see. But if I had to guess, he would be regressing from a statistical standpoint. From a impact standpoint, I still think he'll be the same Debo. I still think he'll be that guy, uh, putting up yards, putting up touchdowns, making huge plays, impact plays, and big moments, all that type of stuff. I just think overall, statistically, probably takes a step back. But again, shout out Corey for hitting me with the super chat on the way out. I hope you guys have a phenomenal weekend. Again, last weekend without football. So use it wisely, and I will see you guys next week.